This case is by far one of the scariest paranormal cases that I have ever looked into. And to this day, it still gives me goosebumps just thinking about it. This is the story of the Smurl Haunting. On April 1974, Helen Acton Smith, a single mother of 4 children, was looking for a new home. She had just been divorced from her ex-husband, and she was in desperate need of somewhere for her and her kids to live. Helen didn't have much money to spend, so she started looking around small country towns near where she grew up. She soon came across the perfect house for her and her family. It was an old farmhouse that had been built back in 1902. It was in the best condition and the paint job was really starting to chip away. But if she fixed it up, it would be perfect. The house was located in the small town of Coudersport in Pennsylvania. And when Helen saw it, she knew she had found the perfect place to raise her kids. She immediately bought the house and moved right in with her children. Helen soon realized that the house needed a lot of work. So she called up her friend Roy Toves to help her fix it up. As they were working on the house, strange things started to happen. Tools would go missing and then show up in strange places. One time, they were working on the roof and a rake suddenly flew out of nowhere and hit Roy on the head. They decided to just ignore it and chalked it up to overworking their imaginations. One night, however, something really scary happened. Helen was sitting at the kitchen table eating dinner with her kids when all of a sudden the lights flickered and went out. Then they heard chains dragging metal moans. Then out of nowhere, the front door swung open and slammed against the wall. Helen was terrified. What could have caused the door to swing open like that? The scariest part was that the door had been locked from the inside. With no way to explain what had happened, Helen called up her friend Roy to see if he could come over and take a look around. He agreed, and he soon arrived at the house. As they were investigating the strange happenings of the house, they heard more chains dragging again. And as they followed the noise, they discovered the source. It was coming from the basement. Armed with a flashlight, they slowly descended down the creaky steps and investigated further. Down there they found chains dragging along the floor, moving closer and closer. They ran away before they could get any closer. Over the next few weeks, the paranormal activity escalated. Objects would fly around the room, doors would open and close on their own, and they would hear chains dragging around the house. Helen and her son even reported seeing a shadowy figure dragging himself closer and closer to their bedroom. Helen had enough of this. She decided to call up Ed and Lorraine Warren, 2 of the most famous paranormal investigators of all time. When they arrived at the house, they confirmed that it was indeed haunted. Lorraine even claimed to see the spirit of a man dragging himself closer to the bedroom where Helen and her son slept. The Warrens and Helen agreed to perform an exorcism on the house to get rid of the spirit. During the exorcism, they commanded the spirit to leave the premises. And for a moment, it seemed to work. But as soon as they left, the spirit returned. Lorraine Warren realized that the spirit had taken a liking to Helen's son, and that's why it was trying to get into his bedroom. Lorraine warned Helen that if she didn't protect her son, the spirit might try to harm him. Lorraine told Helen that the best thing to do would be to move out of the house and let the spirit have it. Helen agreed. She packed up her things and moved away from the house, never to return. But here's where things get really creepy. You see, after Helen and her family moved out of the house, the paranormal activity didn't stop. Instead, it got even worse. The new owners reported hearing strange footsteps, doors opening and closing, and even shaking beds. They also heard chains dragging around the house, just like the previous owner had experienced. One night, the new owners were awoken in the middle of the night to the sound of someone shaking their bed. They looked around, but they couldn't see anyone. Then out of nowhere, the closet door opened and a shadowy figure emerged. The couple screamed and ran out of the house. When they called the police, they told them that they had seen a ghost. The police officers laughed in their faces and told them that ghosts weren't real. They then suggested that maybe it was just some teenagers playing a prank on them. The couple insisted that they hadn't seen teenagers, only a ghost. The police officers still didn't believe them and told them to just forget about it. The couple ended up selling the house for a loss and moving out. The new owner was a little more skeptical, but still, he didn't expect to see a ghost. That all changed one night when he was writing in his journal at his desk. Suddenly, he heard chains dragging down the hallway. He stopped writing and listened closely. Sure enough, he could hear the chains dragging closer and closer. He turned around to see a shadowy figure dragging himself closer to his desk. He screamed and tried to run away, but the ghost blocked his path. He then reached out a hand and touched the ghost. The ghost then disappeared. He called up the Ghostbuster, Ed and Lorraine Warren, and they performed another exorcism on the house. After the exorcism, the ghost seemed to calm down a bit. It didn't disappear, but the paranormal activity did seem to decrease a little. He decided to stay in the house, mainly because he couldn't afford to move. Years later, the man recounted his experience with the ghost to the local newspaper. In the article, he stated that he had never seen a ghost before or since. He said that the ghost was very real and he felt its presence every time he walked down the hallway. He also said that he never wanted to move back into the house because he was afraid that the ghost would come back with a vengeance. So, who was this ghost haunting the house? Well, here's what we know. Back in 1908, a man named Belvin Smurl lived in the house. He was a farmer who had a wife and 6 children. One day, he was working in his barn when he was bitten by a horse. The bite turned into a severe infection, and he died not long after. But that's not where it gets creepy. His body was buried on the property under a large oak tree. Years later, the house was sold and eventually it was purchased by Helen Acton Smith. She had no idea that there was a grave on the property until after she and her family moved in. Some believe that Belvin's spirit was trapped under the house because he wasn't buried in a cemetery. Others believe that he was simply restless because he was buried on the property where he used to live. Whatever the reason, he made it very clear that he did not want Helen and her family living in his house. Sadly, no one listened to him, and they continued to live there despite all of the paranormal activity. Now, I don't know about you, but I would definitely move out of a haunted house. I'm not risking my life to find out if ghosts are real. If you agree, let me know in the comments below, and if you want to see more short videos, stay tuned. I'll catch you in the next one.